So my name is Siddharth Singh. I have close to 10 years of work experience in pre-sales function across multiple companies such as Tata Consultancy Services, Shell, Emphasis, and High Radius. And I have worked across 5 cities in India. I have done MBA from SP Jain Mumbai and UT Austin. And I've joined HeadSpin as a global lead of solutions and offerings some time back. And my job is to understand the pain points of various industries proactively and for the customers as well, and propose a probable solution, best possible solution along with commercials to our prospects and customers. And also I work along with GSI partners, technology partners, and other partners for exploring more and more avenues. So let's straight away jump onto the ISV industry. So ISV industry itself is a very huge umbrella. So I'll not go very deep into what all applications come under that umbrella. We'll just focus on the user experience part of it. Okay. And just to give a very brief introduction to the people who might not know very well what is ISV. So ISV is independent software vendors, and basically their business is ultimately of serving enterprises such as yours and mine. Okay, for example, Salesforce, uh, SAP, Oracle, all of these are independent software vendors, and there are multiple other Indian multi nationals such as Infosys, TCS. They also have their products. Like TCS Banks is there. They are also ISV. So ultimately, these ISV platforms started with the goal of simplifying the life of various business functions, focused on the functional aspects of each of the process. So, for example, if you have to apply a cash, uh, you can use one of the modules of SAP, okay, or maybe one of the modules of Oracle for that matter. But the market has become so advanced, and the user expectations have grown so much that it is not limited only to the functional aspects of it. You have to serve the customer from user experience perspective as well. Okay. For example, I'll take my example only. I am a very you know tech savvy guy. I'm a technology enthusiast, but not as technical as the QAs present here and the developers present here, definitely. But yeah, I like to read about it. I like to interact with multiple functions, multiple tools, devices. And my first thing is like I go for the user experience. Okay, how is the OS performing? How is the touch response, search response, etc., etc. And if it doesn't catch my attendance, maybe I'll drop it in a few years or in a few months. So that's about me. I'm pretty sure the story is likewise for all of us. Maybe some of us are end users or some of us are developing it, but the challenges remains the same. Now we should talk about the developer. How does a developer know about the perceived user experience during the development cycle? How does a QA understand that? How does an SRE team or a DevOps team understand that what is the ultimate impact of their work on the perceived user experience and ultimately the brand value of your particular product? I think it's like finding a needle in the haystack, because it's not just about the application or the technology that you're using, or how many coders you have. It doesn't really work like that. It depends on multiple other factors, that the devices the user is using while accessing your application, the network that is being used, okay, servers on which your application is hosted, and maybe the location in which the user is residing. Maybe an application is working perfectly in a geography such as US, but the offshore team which is sitting in India, they are facing lagging issues, app responsiveness, there is launch time delays, and ultimately because of this, the users get frustrated, their work gets impacted, and ultimately business takes a hit. And we don't want that, either as the developer of that tool or the user of the tool. Okay. Now we have to understand what are the key aspects, the first step to solve this problem is to understand what are the key aspects of defining a perfect user experience for an ISV industry. Okay. For example, any of the solutions that I just named, but I won't take names now. I don't want to pinpoint at anyone. All of them are perfect in their own sense. So for example, I am using a tool ABC, okay, or maybe I'm developing a tool ABC for enterprises. So how do we, identify various aspects of user experience? First of all, let's start with functional validation. Okay, you want to know that your login feature is working, your logout feature is working, homepage landing is working. Then comes the regression part of it. You might have multiple releases throughout the year. How is the build one working versus build two? Things like that. Now comes the performance validation, and it has multiple layers, as you can clearly see from left to right. There are multiple layers attached to a performance validation. So what is performance validation? Ensuring that your application is performing optimally under all conditions. By all conditions, I mean irrespective of the device being used, irrespective of the network, location, etc., etc. Now that's a very complex job. It seems very easy to say, but it's a very complex job. Now there are multiple layers to it. First of all, right in the center, it's scalability verification. Your tool might work very well for 10 people located in one particular location in India. But when you want to sell it to a bigger organization, such as maybe Amazon or Shell, there are they are situated across maybe 50 countries, 80 countries, and there are multiple people at each location. So you want to scale up that solution. Plus, there are multiple layers of complexity. You have to, for example, if we talk about Salesforce, every company uses Salesforce in a different way. Their navigation is different. The functions are different. Okay, that adds a layer of complexity to the whole user experience problem. So scalability verification is very important. Then regression intelligence, build over build, network over network, location over location. How is my application performing? Is it, for example, there is a search bar. It was performing very good in build one. Build two, it's performing, but it's taking a lot of time. Search response time is poor. So ultimately, I'll get frustrated as a user. I might stop using it. Okay, I'm talking about extremities, but that's just an example. Compatibility checking. Uh, for example, a company has deployed both Mac and Windows, laptops and desktops in their company. So you want to check that, hey, at least for the major, market leaders, my application is working perfectly on a web browser, on Windows, on Mac, or maybe on a mobile device as well. That can be Android or iOS. Okay. Then comes the network part of it. It should be able to work perfectly under multiple, network conditions as well. Okay, for example, uh, in the evenings, some applications go down because of high usability, high number of concurrent users. That shouldn't happen. Same applies for latency as well. And in case you have an AV element as well, for example, you have a tool that provides training to the enterprises, and due to latency issues, the videos are not working properly. AV syncing issues are there. So it doesn't matter that you have 100% functionality. Ultimately, it boils down to the overall perceived user experience at the end user. Now that we have established that there is a problem for the ISV industry and what are the key elements that are important to look at, maybe we should now start searching for a solution. How do we do it? Okay. First is going for a manual route, maybe in-house solution. Okay. Maybe you can go for n number solution, but in that way, you won't be able to do a correlation amongst all these factors. Okay. Maybe you are capturing multiple KPIs, device KPIs, network KPIs, but how will you draw conclusions out of it? There has to be some correlation. So you need a one-stop shop. Now, talking about the critical KPIs that needs to be captured, this is just the tip of the iceberg. we have to capture network KPIs like Wi-Fi signal strength, HTTP throughput, network in and out bytes, the packets, device level KPIs as well. What is the CPU usage while accessing the application? Maybe while you are using it, it might seem all good, but the CPU usage is very high, memory usage is very high, things like that. Operating system as well, that is also very important. These net CPU usage and etc. might go up and down. Maybe in a newly launched device, there can be overheating issues, temperature, battery being used, etc. etc. Then ultimately, how do we measure the perceived user experience? Now, why I am saying perceived user experience? Because user experience is also very subjective in nature. Some person might be okay with some of the challenges, but some might be very sensitive to it. Okay, so you have to capture that data as well. For example, screens change time, low page contents, connection, download speed, etc., etc. And this all of these KPIs have to be captured in real location. If you're using some sort of emulator or simulator, that can give you a a 50-50 kind of view. Yeah, maybe it's okay, maybe it's fine, but it won't give you a overall comprehensive view of the real world to compete in this highly dynamic environment. So it is very necessary to use real devices, real networks at real locations. So now let's define a one-stop shop. What do we want from a solution? If we go into the market, if we go to our partner that, hey, please give me a solution. I want to solve this problem. I have been I have been developing this particular application, but there are multiple negative feedbacks that are coming in, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to lose the market. So first of all, like I said, we have to validate performance across real location networks and devices. Now, these devices can be mobile devices, tablets, desktop browsers like Chrome, Safari, Mozilla, Microsoft, and it can be different form factors, different OEMs. Okay. And it can be different networks such as 5G, 4G, 3G. Okay. It can be a Wi-Fi network as well. So this solution should give you a matrix of all these things like network, location, and devices. Because if you go ahead for your own lab setup kind of thing, it will be very very difficult for you to procure these capital expenditure, maintain these again capital expenditure. So that is very difficult for you, and you have to hire people to maintain these. If you are running tests on a daily basis from maybe 2 to 8 hours, typically in a day, that device won't last long more than 1.5 year. Okay, so maintenance and repair, etc., etc. That also takes a toll on your pocket, and you don't want additional money going out of your pocket. You rather spend it on hiring new people in the R&D section, spend more on the R&D side of it, etc., etc. Okay, so right use of money. And what are the key features that you should look out for? First of all, you should be able to record and run sessions across n number of critical user journeys of your application, especially the enterprise applications. You should be able to record it so that you can refer to it, and you can collaborate with other teams, such as a developer can collaborate with a QA referring to a particular session. If it's lost, if an error was isolated in one of the sessions, it is very difficult to recreate the same in another session. So it is better to have a recorded session. Okay, and it should be able to also consider the third party integrations as well, APIs and well, etc. Apart from identifying issues, it should also be able to have some layer of intelligence. Like everybody is now using, a chat GPT and, Bard in their daily lives. Why not developers? Why not QAs? Why not SREs? They should also have some solution that has, layer of intelligence attached to it. Maybe in the form of AI or machine learning model. Okay. Apart from that, we should talk about QA as well. So, for example, you go ahead and you buy a solution, but you have to, put in a lot of effort to integrate it with your current automation framework. Okay, and it is very difficult to use. Your QA's life will become hell for at least 6 months. That shouldn't happen. So it should be a seamless integration technically and for the people as well, because all the organizations nowadays are becoming people centric. Then only you will be able to have a higher adoption rate. Now we should also talk about SREs and DevOps. It should be able to integrate with your CI/CD pipelines to enable continuous testing and give you features to continuously monitor how your application is performing in real life. So now we are going to talk about one of this kind of solution that we have been talking about for the past 20 minutes. That is HeadSpin. Okay. So HeadSpin, as you can see, there are multiple layers. If you go from left to right, we'll go one by one. So at the center of it, it is the global device infrastructure that spreads across 85 plus locations and 70 countries. And we have, real mobile devices, Apple, Android. Fire Stick, we have smart TVs, smart speakers, etc. that can be deployed for your testing purposes. Even we are doing some testing for X Cloud as well, for gaming, cloud gaming as well. So there is a wide array of devices, but that is just the foundation of it. Those are the digital endpoints where we run the test, where you run the test or you run the test for your client as a service partner, and the data gets captured. Now, what else? Now, all of this data goes to the HeadSpin cloud, the solution that we have, and it gets streamlined into one data stream, and it can be viewed into a time series view, and that is, I think, it won't be too much to say that is it is the only solution that gives you 130 plus critical KPIs across devices, application, and network, and present to you in a form of time series view, so that you can draw correlations. Basically, you can run the session, record it, and then visit the time series, traverse through the whole recording, and find out various problems such as loading animation. Like you can see there is issue cards. First of all, you can spot the loading animation in the session, and then scroll down and see all the KPIs that are measured. And then you can find a correlation that this can be a problem. That is first level of analysis. Second level of analysis is the intelligence of the tool. Now, we have been running millions of tests from the past almost a decade on a machine learning model. So what happens is the intelligence of the tool creates issue cards, like you are able to see on the right hand side on the screen, loading animation 1, low page content. So it counts the number of times this issue has occurred and what could be the probable reason based on the millions of tests that we have run. Okay, and all of this can be collated, and it can be presented to you in the form of a dashboard, which is also an integral part of a solution, the Grafana dashboard. And based on these dashboards, alerts and watchers can be set so that the persona specific alerts and watchers and dashboards, it can go to the concerned audience. It can be product team, it can be SRE team who are monitoring continuously, and it can be developers, QAs. Okay, and you can collaborate as well. And at the end of the day, how you are accessing all of this magic, you are accessing it via a web-based URL. That's it. You need an active internet connection and a web browser to access the HeadSpin remote UI. Now, how does it fit into your ecosystem? Typically, this is how your ecosystem looks like. You have a test management tool, you have an automation framework, and you have your CI/CD orchestration tools, you have workflow tools, and you have some other tools as well for workflow management. And basically, it sits right in between all of among these tools and gets integrated with them with our open APIs. Very easy to integrate, and it can integrate with your automation frameworks as well. In this case, we are talking a lot about enterprise applications. So I'd like to highlight, apart from Selenium and Appium, we can also have native integration with Tricentis Tosca. Okay, so very low or maybe no effort from your team's end to integrate it with our solution. Then you have the device farm that I highlighted. Ultimately, you run tests using the HeadSpin remote UI that you see on the left-hand side. And you run the test, you record the test. artifacts get generated in form of screen recordings, test logs, data, etc., that you can access via remote UI, and it flows through a data stream and can be presented into Grafana dashboards. Now, one more thing that I would like to highlight is not only the Grafana dashboard. If you are having an existing solution in place, for example, there's Power BI, there's Spotfire, Tableau, and if you want to use those, solutions, we can provide that as well in the form of the uh, PostgreSQL solution, and it can be viewed on your data visualization solution as well. How do we orchestrate all of this? What is the deployment model? There are multiple deployment models. Broad categories are on-premise and cloud-based. So typically, on-premise solutions are for the banking customers. We have usually seen that banking and financial industries, they are very conservative. They are very particular about their security controls, security measures. So they don't want the hardware to be in, HeadSpin data center or any other apart from data center apart from their own premises. Okay, so we can ship a appliance which can fit up to 24 mobile devices in one go. We have a picture we will see after this slide, and it's a military grade appliance, very secure. Temperature can be maintained, there are fans there, and it can be logged and it can be accessed only via secure key. And in fact, the UI can be accessed via SSO only, so it's very secure. And there is one more option: the server can be placed in your premises, and an air-gapped version of the on-premise setup can be done, so that none of the data, not even the test data, leaves your premises. That is mostly for the banking customers. And we have cloud-based, solutions as well, dedicated devices, shared devices for varying frequency of tests, ad hoc testing, low frequency of testing, depends on the nature of the requirement and depends on the budget of the customer. Okay, ultimately. And like I said, CI/CD integration very easy to do using open APIs. Now, what you see on the screen left hand side, it's our proprietary appliances. On the top, it's the P box or the phone box that we have. It has a tray in it, and using a USB cable, you can install up to 24 devices, mobile devices. And if you are installing tablets, the number goes down because tablets take more space. And you can install Android based mobile devices. You can install Android based mobile devices with multiple versions of both the OSs, and irrespective of the OEMs, to be honest. And if you see on the bottom side, you see HeadSpin AV box. Now this is for DRM content validation. This is a two device setup. This is not very applicable in ISV industry, so I'll quickly skip. On the right hand side, you see the HeadSpin UI. This is the UI that you can access via your uh, web browser, and there is a remote control tab that you can see here: host, devices, and remote. And in the remote section, you can see that on the left hand side, it's a real device, and you can control it via mouse as if you are using a touch screen. And as you can see below, there is a device tray, and 8 devices are connected in parallel to enable parallel testing. Okay, that adds a layer of convenience to the lives of the QAs as we speak. Now, what are the use cases apart from performance analysis? I have been talking about performance from a long time. Let's talk about certain other use cases. First of all is, if you go from the right hand side, cross-platform testing. You have to ensure that your solution is working fine on various form factors: a 6-inch mobile, 9-inch tablet, and a desktop located in India or China or Europe, everywhere. Okay, then you need a secure solution. So HeadSpin uses VPN tunnels for establishing a connection, a one-way connection from your premises to HeadSpin cloud, so that you can have better control over the data flow. And this data is only synthetic test data. No PII is there, because it's a test environment. No real user data is being used, and all the updates and support is done via this VPN tunnel only. And you have the liberty and freedom to enable or disable access to this VPN tunnel to further have a better control over this solution. Then you have automation at scale. Apart from manual testing, like I said, you can have automation at scale, integrate with 60 plus automation frameworks, including Tricentis Tosca, that is a native integration for us, apart from Appium and Selenium. And Jonathan Lips, I would like to highlight Jonathan Lips, who is one of the most known persons from the world of Appium, as you might already know. He works as senior director at HeadSpin. You can go to, maybe we can share the GitHub of, Jonathan's after this call. And ultimately, you should be able to, use this application to automate all the possible critical user journeys, maybe, navigation through the web page, or maybe biometrics, OTP, etc., etc. All the things that can be done. Then comes the functional testing, that is the foundation of everything. Apart from screen recording and screen capture for each of the sessions, we also have a mini remote access. So what is mini remote access? Once you log into the system and you go to the advanced options, you get to see a QR code. Now, this is the most natural way of conducting a manual testing on a mobile device. What happens is, once you scan this QR code using your own personal device or your company's provide device, you are a QA, for example, and you just scan it. Now, instead of using a mouse on a web browser to run the manual test on HeadSpin remote UI, you can control the remotely placed devices from your handheld device itself. So it's very convenient, and I think it's the industry's only solution that provides so much convenience to manual testers. Now, regression intelligence is very important, not only build on build. It can give you a dashboard view of location over location, network over network, and build over build for multiple people, such as product, business executives, QAs, SREs, etc. And you have the pass-fail analysis as well. Now, this is a very long list of KPIs that we capture across network, device, and user experience metrics. I would like to highlight some of those. For example, if you are viewing, for example, multimedia in an application, so you'd want to see what is the blurriness, what is the blockiness, contrast, colorfulness, brightness. You'd want to have a mean opinion score, referenced and reference free. So we have VMOS as well. Okay. Active users, impact count, how many time a particular issue has occurred, what is the impact that it has caused. Okay, and like we talked about AI and ML enabled issue cards for faster RCA. These are the some of the. This is not an exhaustive list, but this is a partial list that issues that we identify, like low page content, poor video quality, slow app launch, low frame rate, audio too loud or too quiet, and these are the root causes that we present to it. Now, to summarize everything that we have discussed in the past 30 minutes is top 5 points. What is the value prop? Evaluate user experience. For the continual improvement of the user experience. It's a dynamic industry. Okay, it should be. It is applicable across platforms, and you should have historical data for benchmarking. You should be able to benchmark your application across your peers as well. Okay. So to understand that where do you stand in the industry, and ultimately it comes down to improving time to market. If you shift left the whole process of UX testing and US validation in your CI/CD pipeline or continuous testing pipeline, you are ultimately improving the user experience plus the time to market, so that you have low or no bugs at launch. Okay. And ultimately, all of this boils down to two things. One is experts. I'm sure all of us are experts in our own jobs. We have experts in our companies working as developers, project leads, QA leads, QAs, etc., etc. But every CEO, every individual, every team lead wants to have data driven decision making enabled for them. You have to have an intelligent layer working for you. So you have to capture as much KPIs as possible and present it in a actionable insight form. And all of this should ultimately take very less time. You should be able to realize value faster, and the cost of testing should reduce instead of going high. You can buy a tool for $20,000, but ultimately, if it doesn't add any value, then it makes no sense. You are just adding the burden to the company. Okay, so ultimately, HeadSpin is enabling you with automation. You are shifting left the user experience. You are preventing user churn. So ultimately, cost of testing, everything goes down, and you are able to validate the global performance of your application across your real devices, real networks, and real applications. So yeah, instead of going for a 50 minutes webinar, I targeted to complete it in 30 minutes. So yeah, that's about it. I'll quickly go on to Q&A. We are open for the next 2-3 minutes to answer any questions if you have. Okay. So we have a few questions here. For enterprise applications, do you see any restrictions or challenges while using HeadSpin with Tosca? Okay, very interesting question, very valid question, because a lot of ISV products are mostly enterprise applications. So you need an integration with Tosca. So to answer your question, yes, it's a native integration, and we see no challenges, no restriction whatsoever for integration with Tosca. Okay, there are a few more questions. What security measures are in place? 1 second, sorry. What security measures are in place to ensure that data remains safe when using HeadSpin tools and services? Yeah, obviously, very valid question again. First of all, we are SOC 2 compliant. That answers most of the questions, but we have data encryption at transition at rest, 256-bit plus TLS2 1.2, sorry, and VPN tunneling is there. We only use PII. We don't use PII. We use only synthetic test data, so no risk there whatsoever. And apart from that, we have on-premise solution as well in place, and with air gap, so that the data doesn't leave your premise at all if that's your requirement in the first place. We have a few more questions. What specific performance metrics does HeadSpin prioritize when assessing application and website performance? And how do these metrics common ISV challenges? So we are talking about the metrics that we are capturing. Like I said, we are capturing multiple KPIs across devices, application, and networks. There is no prioritization, but definitely you have, for example, uh, screen change, downsampling index, user retention, active users, impact time. These are some of the KPIs that are common across all of these sessions that can help you take informed decision to resolve your user experience related issues. 1 second. On-premise solution allows us device management. Uh, Device management is a very broad topic. Can you please uh, type a bit more? See, from what I understand from device management, yes, you can have a list of all the devices, swapping the devices. Yes, we allow swapping of devices, definitely, but it is having, uh, some limitations that can be discussed, not in terms of technicalities, but overall the subscription charges and all. There are some terms and conditions, but technically speaking, there is no restriction. but definitely we can discuss it with you. If you want, you can get in touch with us. To answer in short, yes, swapping of devices is there. I hope I have answered your question. Upgrade application on specific device. Okay, very good question. So, for example, you are testing an application. Okay, so there are two things. One is a production application that is gone live. Okay. For example, you have a particular version of Salesforce. Uh, just an example, one of the modules are there. You can just, like a normal mobile phone, you can browse, go through App Store, go to Google Play, download it, and you can upgrade it like you do it on your own mobile phone. Also, if you have pre-released version, you have different builds, you can go to our UI, you can browse that particular build, upload it, and do the testing. So we serve both the purpose, live applications and pre-release versions as well. I hope that answers your question. And thank you, Mr. Radhakrishna or Ms. Radhakrishna, for asking these questions. We had one more question. Okay. We had automated scripts developed with iOS physical environment using Tricentis mobile agent. These scripts can be compatible to execute using HeadSpin without porting. Need to have refactoring of scripts. Uh, See, from my experience, I have worked on multiple such transitions from X. I won't name any, but from X solution to HeadSpin, it has been a very smooth transition with lower no efforts. Also, if you don't have the capability or maybe you don't have the bandwidth to do it, we have a certain segment. We are not into services, we are a product company, SaaS based product company, but we intend to support our customers on all the front. So there is a section, our sales engineers and professional services team, which can identify the right set of scripts, identify the gaps, and maybe fix it for you, and then maybe you can start running it on yourself. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Radhakrishnan. Okay, that's great. Thank you for your time, Radhakrishna. Any other question? I'll wait for 10 more seconds. Okay, there is one more question. What suggestions would HeadSpin recommend to the clients in terms of mobile web app performance in the specific geography, network provider, specific device? What are the parameters or KPI would HeadSpin consider before providing deep analytics on app performance? So, see, it's a very broad question, but a very valid question again. So if we talk about particular KPIs, it totally depends on the uh, critical user journey that we are testing in that particular session. So for example, if you have 120 or maybe 100 critical user journeys or tests that you have defined, it can have multiple KPIs, or maybe it can have only 10 critical KPIs. It depends on the critical user journey, to be frank. Okay. And like you can see on the screen, I'm sharing my screen. There are 130 plus critical KPIs, across devices, application performance, and network performance that can be captured. So depends on the critical user journey that is defined. What suggestions would HeadSpin recommend to the client in terms of mobile web performance? So actually, we really don't recommend any network provider. It's not really our job. It's better for the experts, that are the developers and QA, to identify on which network, in which geography, the particular application is working perfectly or not. So we can definitely help you with selecting certain SIM providers while engagement, but as a company we don't do that. It's beyond our expertise giving recommendations on network providers. I hope that answers the question. Okay, thanks, Sudhir. I think that's it. There are no more questions. So with your permission and with Apurva's permission, everybody, I would like to thank Apurva for organizing this webinar for all of us. Thank you, Apurva. I think we can close this webinar now. Thank you for joining in. Thank you very much.